Hello everyone, welcome to Cook Vegan YouTube channel. I do hope you're subscribing, and if you haven't already, do click that subscribe button now and make sure your notifications is on. Today I am joined with none other than an author, blogger and vegan activist, Sascha Camilli. I'm going to let her tell you all about her amazing book that came out last year, plus her magazine, Vilda. She's based in London, and I'm so happy to have you with me today on Cook Vegan. Hi Sascha, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
It was a very quick summary. There is so much to say about you, and I know, 10% of what there is to know. So I'd rather you just tell everybody who's watching all the fantastic things you're doing.
Well, I have been vegan for 8 years, and my professional background is in the fashion industry. I'm a former fashion journalist and copywriter. And throughout my time in the fashion industry, I've always felt like a bit of a hypocrite because so much of my work was about writing sales-based copy and things that were meant to promote items that I would never buy myself, such as leather, exotic skins. And I always felt like I wanted to do something to promote vegan fashion instead. So about 6 years ago now, I think about 7 years ago, I started the world's first digital vegan fashion magazine. And I did that with Marie Claire magazine here in the UK. They had a scheme where they helped people with interesting business ideas to bring them into life. And I was lucky enough to be chosen for that. So my magazine called Vilda, which is Swedish for the wild one. The name is in Swedish, but the magazine is in English. That was launched in late 2013, and I ran it until December last year. So it existed for 6 years in total. And during that time, we have really seen the vegan movement grow in such an amazing way. And one of the things that I was lucky enough to do through this journey was to write my first book, which is called Vegan Style, and it came out on Murdoch Books last summer. It is a guide.
And I'll just interject here, it's available on Amazon, isn't it? For those watching, you can get it on. I saw it for sure on Amazon UK. Is there any other, or is it all Amazon's?
Yes, it should be available on Amazon everywhere.
Right, because we have people watching this that might be in America and.
Oh, it came out in the States on Simon & Schuster imprint Tiller Press in November last year. So definitely American viewers will be able to get it.
Amazing.
Yeah, it should be available on Amazon all over the world, really. It's been an amazing journey working on this book. It's mostly about vegan fashion, but there's also a bit of beauty, about how to decorate your home in a cruelty-free way. There's some travel, menswear. There's a chapter for people who are looking to transition to a vegan wardrobe, and some tips and tricks that help you do that. And yeah, it's a project I'm very proud of. And
I think you should be. Not only is it a beautiful book, everyone will put the link below this so you can have a look and go directly to see where you can buy it. It's beautiful. It's a hardcover. I also think it's a stunning present, especially now that Christmas is coming up. It's a really nice gift, not necessarily just for vegans, but people who want to have a lighter footprint, and people who are, looking at more sustainable ways of living. It must have some great tips in. And I think it's the first that I've seen that addresses, such a niche in veganism, really, because obviously when people think of veganism, they do think of food, hence Cook Vegan, of recipes, of what we eat, but it's so much wider than that. And there isn't something so concrete as your book out there that I've seen. At least I've seen many books that touch on it or have a chapter in it, but to be dedicated like your book, it's really fantastic. So I take my hat off to you. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, that was one of my visions for it, was to create something that took the reader on a journey into those other aspects of veganism. Because when I first started planning this book, I found a lot of content around food when it comes to books, but also just when it came to websites and content on the internet. And all of that content was a huge help to me when I was first transitioning to a vegan lifestyle. And it was just great to see all these amazing recipes. Everything was so beautiful and well presented. So I thought, certainly there must be space to talk about the other aspects of vegan living in the same beautiful, aspirational way. So that was what I was trying to do with both the magazine and the book.
It's amazing. And tell us a little bit, so has the magazine now stopped since December?
Since December last year, yes. So it was around for 6 years, and we had an amazing journey doing that. I'm so proud of everything we've achieved, all the photo shoots that we've done, all of the people that I had a chance to interview, of my amazing team. I worked with a team of freelancers who were based all over the world, who gave their contribution to the magazine. Very proud of what we've created. I'm not opposed to revisiting it maybe at some point in the future.
I was just about to say, so what is in store now? Because, you know, seeing you and your energy and your passion for what you do, I don't think this, you know, maybe the chapter's ending, but not the book. So let's see what's in store and what you'll bring us in the coming years.
You can already see some of my next steps. My podcast, which is called Catwalk Rebel. The first season of it came out this spring, so it's available now. I'm thinking of continuing along the podcast path, slightly rejigging the format of it, but hopefully 2021 should be the year when you will see new episodes of Catwalk Rebel, and possibly a new website. We'll see what happens. It's definitely still in the works.
And you also write articles, don't you, for other publications? I know that you did one recently for Immaculate Vegan, and I've seen several others that you've done. So tell us a little bit about that.
I love working with Immaculate Vegan. I love what they do. I remember many years ago when I first moved to the UK, and I was looking at websites like Net-a-Porter that had this amazing, clean, beautiful layout, and that were really aspirational and just presented fashion in a beautiful way. And I thought, what if we had something like this that was vegan? That would have been so, so amazing. And now we do, and it's Immaculate Vegan. I think that their whole aesthetic and their approach to fashion is exactly what we need. It's the elevated, curated selection of vegan fashion that really shows that you can be stylish. You don't have to compromise on aesthetics if you want to live a vegan lifestyle and have a vegan wardrobe. So I'm so proud to collaborate with them. I also work with Eco Warrior Princess, which is a sustainable living platform. They do a lot of content around ethical fashion, but also around other aspects of ethical living. I've written about vegan beauty. I've written about decorating a vegan home, and also just generally for transitioning to a vegan lifestyle. I also work with Vegan Food and Living magazine here in the UK, Nourish magazine in Australia, which is a beautiful publication. And sometimes I work with Plant-Based News, which is a news website focusing on vegan.
Which is beautiful, yeah. Lovely. I'm so impressed, I really am. And it's so important. And I think for a lot of people who are watching this, who are thinking about vegan lifestyle, or maybe have, you know, a perception, even from just a decade ago, even from 5 years ago, you know, when you would go and look for, I don't know, vegan shoes. I mean, they were pretty horrific, you know, some of them. And it was very much cork and rope based, you know, quite chunky. If somebody, you know, has maybe a more Italian style, you know, that was out. So sustainable, fashion was harder to find, even if it was out there. And I think it's been amazing, even for me as a vegan, just to see how many new labels have come out, how many other labels are slowly transitioning. And I think, you know, we shouldn't ignore that also. We should support those people, you know, to help them move away from their furs, their leathers, the glues that they use, so many other things, the sheep skin, the sheep wool and skin and everything else, and go towards a more sustainable philosophy. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that as well, and your take on on how the industry is evolving.
Absolutely. So yeah, when I first started the magazine, there wasn't much of an idea what vegan fashion, even like the concept was so foreign to so many people. I remember some of the reactions I got were along the lines of, what do you mean, like vegan fashion? Is there meat in my clothes? Like, people didn't know what I was talking about. But now we have a vegan fashion week. We have
I was so happy that I saw this from your site, and I'm so happy you promoted it and just opened my eyes to that. And please tell everyone watching more about this. It's amazing.
This is just one of the many developments that have happened in the last few years. Vegan fashion has grown so exponentially. Most brands have a concept of what vegan means, and they are also aware of the fact that it's growing, that more consumers are aware of the issues behind animal-derived materials and are wanting to move away from these fabrics. So many brands are now refusing to work with fur, such as Gucci, Chanel, Prada, Versace, Michael Kors, Burberry, some of the biggest names in the fashion world no longer.
And of course, many states in the USA have actually banned it.
Exactly. Even the sales of fur is starting to, there are territories that are looking for even a ban on selling fur, such as California have done. Yeah, but what Vegan Fashion Week is, what I was so excited to see it myself. It's the first Fashion Week event that is entirely vegan. It's an amazing runway show that presents the best of up-and-coming emerging designers in a very cutting-edge, interesting way. We were really lucky to be able to visit 2 editions of the event before it went digital. Of course, this year it's been digital the whole way through, and we followed along there as well. And it's just an amazing movement that shows that you can have vegan catwalks and they can be just as stylish, if not more so. Another great example is Helsinki Fashion Week. So I am the media and special projects coordinator for PETA UK. And we came across Helsinki Fashion Week a few seasons ago, and they presented themselves as the first sustainable fashion week in the world. And not many people, now more people are aware of the fact that leather is a very unsustainable material. It's highly polluting, and just like the rest of animal agriculture, it's a huge contribution to climate change. So we thought, if you want to be the most sustainable fashion week in the world, maybe you shouldn't showcase what has been named the most polluting material in the world. So we worked with Helsinki Fashion Week and helped them become the first ever leather-free fashion week in the world.
Amazing, which is not an easy feat at all.
Well, yeah, you might think so, because not many fashion weeks are showing fur-free catwalks year after year, but leather is there's still kind of an obstacle there. But when I went to Helsinki Fashion Week last summer, it was just mind-blowing to see how much creativity and how much style you can put on a catwalk and how much you can create without having to use leather. So the future is definitely leather-free. We have no reason or no excuse to still be using it.
I couldn't agree more. And also there's so many great alternatives. I know a couple of decades ago, the folk leather, the fake leather, or leather as they used to call it, I mean, was pretty horrific. And to be honest, it wasn't sustainable because it was plastic based anyway. But now we have Pinatex, we have materials that don't just made from pineapple, from apples, from, there's so many sources that you would know better than me. So maybe could you tell everyone a little bit about that? Because I know people are watching, and I know, for example, my father would say, oh, well, animals are being killed anyway. Leather's a byproduct, which of course is not the case. Many animals are killed, like ostriches, purely for their skin that is worth more than their meat. So maybe you could tell everyone a little bit more.
Absolutely. So this is a common misconception. People believing that leather is...
Sorry, my son is in the background. Okay. Okay, this is Cook Vegan, Sascha. So, okay, this is real, and this is what we get all the time on our lives. Okay, we won't have it. So anyone who's watching this that does not follow me on Facebook and is part of Cook Vegan, I have lives nearly every day. And the reason why I think it's been so successful is because it's real. So I'm a real working mama with 3 kids and running around and, you know, trying to balance everything else and run a huge hotel and do this. So sorry, everyone, for the interruption. Sorry, Sascha, but
No
I'm
problem.
sure you guys had to pause your videos as well while watching this. So tell us more, sorry, about the leather industry.
Yes, of course. So yeah, like we were saying, many people believe that leather is this waste product, that people are just using the entire animal, and this is quite far from the truth. On our website, peta.org.uk, you can see some of the undercover exposés into the leather trade, and you can see some photos of animals who have been killed for their skin. And what you will be sure to notice if you look at a few of them is how skinny and malnourished these animals are. There's not much meat on their bones at all. They're really skinny cows. This is because
they're not fed, because they're not being used for that.
Exactly. There isn't any flesh. Like they are just being raised because leather is an industry. It's not about waste. It's about an industry that exists because of demand. And as skins can be a very lucrative part of the animal, this is an industry that coexists with the meat trade, but is not dependent on it. And leather is a very polluting industry. Obviously, animal agriculture is a huge contribution to some of the biggest disasters that our planet is facing right now, including climate change. And when we talk about pollution, when it comes to materials such as polyurethane or other synthetic materials that we know are very bad for the environment, we have to also keep in mind that leather has a higher impact than these materials because of the cost of raising animals for consumption. And when leather is tanned, lots of chemicals are used to preserve the leather and keep it from rotting. So those are extremely harsh, toxic chemicals. It's actually estimated that 90% of all the leather workers in Bangladesh, which is one of the main leather tanning areas in the world, will die before they're 50.
I was just about to say, for the workers.
It's devastating. It's a very harsh trade. And as you've said before, we don't really need this anymore because we have all of these new vegan materials. It's interesting because we've always had apples, pineapples, wine grapes, cork, but now we have the technology to transform these materials into fashion, which is so fascinating. I could talk about this for hours. I'm such a material innovation nerd. I love all of these new, interesting vegan leathers, and there are so many new ones being launched and being developed all the time. Pinatex, which you mentioned, was one of the first ones, and I would say it's the leader, I think, in vegan plant-based leathers, because it's a pineapple leather. It's made from pineapple leaves, and it's been used by designers such as Hugo Boss, Chanel, H&M and their Conscious Exclusive collection, which has also featured leather made from wine grapes. So these materials are going to be the future of fashion. We're going to see them used more and more in the future. The latest one that I think is quite interesting is cactus leather. It's mostly niche vegan labels using that. Also, mango leather is another one that I think is really interesting. Now, Immaculate Vegan sells a brand called Luxtra London, and they are, as far as I know, the only ones in the UK to use mango leather, which is a material that was created to minimize food waste. 2 young guys in the Netherlands who saw that a lot of the fruit at their local market was being wasted because it was wonky or just because it wasn't being sold. So they decided to transform it into a material. And what they settled on was mangoes. And I've seen some of this mango leather, and it's very sturdy, very resistant. And you immediately think, like, will this smell like fruit or anything? But it just looks like leather. It's unbelievable what we can create.
It is amazing. I know I have quite a few vegan leathers, and it's so different, like each one, how different, like some of them are very thick and not so subtle, let's say, but still amazing, like quite good, you know, almost rain jackets or things. And others are so soft. Some of my vegan leather shoes, oh my goodness. I have to say one company, NEI, which stands for No Animal Exploitation, which is a Portuguese company. Comfiest boots ever. You put them on and you don't have that wearing in and blisters and everything. From the first day, you feel like amazing. Beyond Skin is another one, beautiful. And then, of course, yes, Immaculate Vegan have plenty that they've showcased on their beautiful platform. So it is amazing. It is amazing what's out there. And I also, I'm not in the industry, but as a consumer, I just get more and more impressed all the time. And I do feel very happy when I see companies that we don't necessarily associate with veganism going that way and suddenly offering, even as you mentioned, Net-a-Porter now, if you type in vegan, it will give you some options, not a lot, but at least there are some. There are some clothes that are more sustainable. There are some shoes. So it is slowly getting into the mainstream. And it's, I also think, yeah, important to support these companies as well as purely just vegan companies to show that there's a market out there. And it's really good if these designers do switch and offer vegan alternatives.
Definitely, I agree with that. Something interesting that we've seen is that there are quite a few companies that have sold vegan designs for a really long time, such as Topshop or Marks and Spencer's, but they're only now labeling them as vegan. They have collections that they're actually actively calling vegan. And I think this shows how much demand is out there, how not only is vegan becoming a concept that people are aware of, but it's also something that fashion brands know is in demand, which I think is amazing. It's been such an incredible development. And for some companies, it's about slowly getting there, about eliminating fur first. And then maybe exotic skins is one that many have cut out from their collections. This is also because right now what we're seeing with the pandemic is that some materials are tied to risks for human health as well. We are seeing COVID-19 cases on mink farms. Experts are warning that the exotic skin trade could have connections to infectious diseases. So we're learning more about these materials and the damage behind them as we go along. And when companies decide to cut them out, I think it is important to show support and to celebrate progress where we can. Because that will ultimately, I think, lead the way for more people to realize that there is no excuse to continue to use other animals for fashion, for vanity, and for creating a product that we can easily make out of vegan materials, both for the sake of animals and humans and our planet.
I couldn't agree more, and I think you've said it really beautifully. You've summed it up so well. And you touched also the pandemic, which I did want to ask you about. So obviously 2020 is what it is. Nobody needs an explanation for that. I personally, because obviously we're in the hotel and restaurant business here in Cyprus, and we have Cyprus's first and only still fully vegan hotel restaurant and beach restaurant here. And I have seen a demand, and Cyprus is actually very much a traditional meat eating culture. But I have seen more and more people, even if they haven't gone fully vegan, look for more vegan recipes. Cook Vegan was launched this year. It's been amazingly successful. People, looking for food in all our outlets. We've got, 7 restaurants opening in our normal times and looking for the vegan options. How have you seen the pandemic affect the fashion industry in what people are looking for? Are more people now aware of and more conscious of sustainability and of fashion choices, whether they've gone vegan or not? Have there been more people going vegan and therefore a demand created in the fashion industry? I'd love to hear your take on that.
Well, what this pandemic I think is doing is it's making us question our relationship with other animals and how our exploitation of animals is now turning against us and starting to really harm the human race. We don't know much about this virus. It's a new virus. We're learning about it as we go along. But what scientists believe is that it originated in a live animal market where humans caught the virus by handling wild animals. And what this can teach us when it comes to fashion is that some facilities where we breed animals for fur and exotic skins specifically are not that different from those live animal markets. For example, if you look at fur farms, we have seen like the first few cases of COVID-19 were in the Netherlands. And then cases were also found in Spain, in Denmark, in Italy, in the US, and it was all mink farms. The way that these animals live on these farms is just like any wet market, any live animal market. They're housed in tiny cramped cages. They're in quite close proximity of one another. Often they're stacked, the cages are stacked one on top of another. And the exchange of bodily fluids is very easy, which means that bacteria can flourish and diseases can very easily spread. So you see this glamorous product that's presented to you as something very luxurious, but the reality behind it, it's actually very, very dirty and grim, and it's just a terrible risk to human health. What's happening in Denmark now is particularly alarming because the virus has mutated, and this mutated strain has now spread to humans, which might mean that the vaccine, the forthcoming vaccine, will be less effective. This is really scary. And why is it happening? Because of fur coats, because people want this vanity product. So I think what's with all the attention surrounding this, people and fashion brands are realizing that this is actually not something that we can or should continue with in the new, more conscious world that we all need when we emerge from this pandemic. So as a result of it, Netherlands has brought forward the closure of all the mink farms. They're closing them by March 2021 instead of 2024 when the original closure date was planned. Poland, which is the third largest fur producer in the world, has also decided to close all fur farms, and France has voted to ban all mink farms as well, which is an amazing development. It really helps, I think the public realize as well that the way we view animals as commodities is harmful from so many points of view.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And my final question to you, because this is Cook Vegan, is tell us a little bit about what you eat and maybe what you snack on during your busy working days. I mean, how can someone be vegan, be busy like you are, be a full-time professional, and still find time to eat vegan, eat and cook vegan?
So I have to admit straight away that I have a bit of help. My Italian husband is one of the most amazing cooks I've ever met. So I'm very lucky. He makes a lot of food for me, and he's vegan as well, which means that we have an abundance of vegan food and recipes that we try out constantly. I'm a huge fan of smoothie bowls, especially in the morning. It's my number one breakfast, and it's quite easy to make them. You just chuck a lot of things in the blender, basically. I like to make mine with oats and bananas, always some peanut butter, and some frozen fruits such as maybe frozen cherries or blueberries, and some usually almond milk, but sometimes oat milk, and just blend all of it. And it's just this amazing, nutritious, colorful breakfast that really gives a lot of energy. Some must-have ingredients in my fridge that are never missing is peanut butter, once again, hummus. I'm a huge fan, never without hummus. If there's one thing I have to get from the supermarket, a friend actually told me this when we were in the supermarket right before lockdown, was every time we come in here, you always get a tub of hummus or two. And nutritional yeast. This is something I wish more people, not only vegans, knew about, because you get a lot of questions about B12 as a vegan. It seems to be one of the only vitamins that people who criticize vegan diets know. They always ask you, where do you get your B12? Well, I take supplements, but there's also something you can use, which is nutritional yeast. And it has quite a weird name. Before I tried it, I was like, what nutritional yeast? What even is that? Is that one of those weird ingredients? It's amazing. It's yeast flakes that are a bit cheesy, and you can put them on everything, basically. Any kind of savory dish. It's just the must-have ingredient that I think everyone, vegan or non-vegan, or just people curious about adding more nutritious vegan ingredients to their food, could benefit from.
That's a really good tip. And I would also add, for those watching who don't know, B12, a lot of omnivores are also deficient in it. So it's something that we used to get a long time ago, not just from animals, because not, you know, most people couldn't afford meat, but they'd get it from their unwashed organic vegetables that they were all eating way back in the day before we had fresh running water and everything else. And now most animals are even injected with it because they don't even get it directly from the source anyway. So, you know, whether you're vegan or not and watching this, supplement B12. You can have nice chewables, you can have a small pill, your body stores it for quite a while, or in multivitamins. So, and then you'll be sure that you're getting enough. So Sascha, thank you so much for coming on this new YouTube channel, Cook Vegan. We've all really enjoyed listening to you. Anybody, if you've got any questions, just put them below, type them below, and I'll make sure that Sascha sees them and gets back to you. And you'll know where to find her. We'll type it below as well and the link. So don't forget to buy her book and get inspired on vegan fashion and what to do at home and how to veganize your life in more ways than just the kitchen. Sascha, thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.